Hi everyone, this is Philip Martin from the Phoenix Society. As part of this review video, I'm going to do something I haven't really done before on this channel, an initial impressions and unboxing video, or at least a partial unboxing. I've already taken this out of the cardboard box, but now we'll take a look and see what's inside this box. This is the 6th sword that LK Chen has sent to me for review, but it's the first one that was shipped in a nice wooden box. Apparently these swords have been getting damaged during shipping, so LK decided to pack them in wooden boxes to keep them safe during shipping. It'll increase the price a little bit, and the weight will go up a little bit for the shipping, but it'll protect the swords a lot better, which I appreciate. So let's take a look inside. Or before we do, if you're curious, these Chinese characters say Longshuan, China, and then underneath it declares what's in here. It says it's a national level non-material cultural heritage, which may sound odd since it's a sword, a material object, but it's a reproduction. It's not an antique, and what's of value is the ability, the skill to make an accurate historical reproduction of this type of sword. So let's take a look and see what's inside. Nice silk bag. Okay, so this is the Song Hand Dao. It's from the Song Dynasty. There's a military manual from that period that illustrates 8 different types of Dao. 7 of them are pole arms, but one of them is a single hand Dao, so that's where the name came from for this sword. The scabbard has a white wood with a clear lacquer, and I think the cord may be lacquered as well. If it's not, I may add lacquer, because I find that helps to keep the cord from coming loose. There are no metal components on the scabbard. It's just 2 bands of wrapped black cord. The hilt has a ring pommel, and according to the description on the website, it's there as out of tradition, to reflect Dao from 1,000 years earlier, like this Han Dao. But the grip is much, much wider and thicker. That's something that really stood out when I looked at Surviving Antiques, is that the grip is much wider and gives you a nice amount of purchase on the hilt of the sword. So the handguard has a nice, large, significant handguard. Interesting shape. I don't know if you can see that. It's sort of shaped like a sunflower seed. It's got a point on this side and rounded on the other. The blade has this metal clip at the base, and when I first saw it, I assumed that the longer portion of the clip would be on the spine, but it's not. As you can see, that's the spine, and this is the edge. So what is the reason for this extending down the edge? I'm not entirely sure. It's a very interesting hilt design. The blade is wide. It's wide and thin, with a good amount of distal taper, going from like 7 millimeters to, I don't know if that's 3 millimeters, maybe. The edge is differentially hardened. I don't know if that'll show up. It probably almost certainly won't, because it's a very faint temper line, but it's hardened on the edge, and the hardening wraps around the tip. So you can see the temper line on the top of the tip of the sword wrapping around here, so that this whole protruding point is hardened. And I would imagine that helps with the intended function of this sword, which is dealing with armor. Apparently the advancements in armor during the Song Dynasty with the lamellar armor drove the design of swords like this that could handle armor. It'll be an interesting sword to cut with for sure. It's a relatively fine edge, but it does have, I don't know if we can see it, but it has thickness just behind the edge to reinforce it for when it makes contact with armor. This sword is quite a bit heavier than the Han Dao. The Han Dao is about a little over 1 pound, whereas this Song Dao is a little over 2 pounds. Feels really good in one hand. It has room for 2 hands. Doesn't feel bad in 2 hands. It's not overly light in 2 hands, so it could be used either way. Very nice looking sword, very interesting design. Tomorrow I'll do some cutting. I'll wrap some mats tonight. But I'm looking forward to trying it out. So now just a few final thoughts, having cut with the sword. Prior to cutting with the sword today, LK had expressed some concern that soft but dense, thick targets that might cause the sword to want to turn might cause it to bend, because this sword has a differentially hardened blade, traditionally water quenched blade, so a very hard edge and a softer spine. But as you saw in the cutting earlier, it cut through the targets very, very easily. It cut through a double tatami mat and through a tatami mat wrapped in 6 layers of linen cloth as easily as any falchion or messer that I've used. And my impression after having used that sword is that that is what this sword is designed to do. It shears through multiple layers of cloth through very thick, dense targets with ease. So I was very impressed with the performance, very happy. One positive aspect about this sword, which leads into a potential negative issue with this line of swords, is that this edge came shaving sharp out of the box. Super sharp, very well done edge. When I mentioned that to LK, he, I guess, was holding one in his hand at the time and said the one that he had was not very sharp. I know that on other videos, Matt Easton, for example, just did a video on the cavalry Hand Dao and mentioned that on that long blade, there are portions that were very sharp, portions that weren't sharp. So LK, if you guys can consistently deliver an edge like this, a very sharp edge, then people are gonna really like these swords. One other issue that I noticed is that all of these black hilt components are painted black. So one part in particular that suffers from that is this collar at the base. It has a couple of areas that are starting to lose the black paint because the scabbard, which fits as it should, very tightly, snugly, holds the sword well, takes a bit of effort to extract it, it's rubbing constantly against that black paint. And so the paint comes off, and there's a little area on the guard that's also starting to come off after only a couple of days. So if perhaps you could find a way to blue these parts instead of painting them, chemical bluing or some other type of process to darken them without paint. I know other reviewers have also found that the paint tends to come off of the metal. So that would be a big improvement as well. But overall, I've been very impressed with this sword, this Song Hand Dao. I haven't had a chance in any of my videos so far to thank LK Chen, so let me do that now. Thank you for sending me these swords to test and review. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the work that you're doing because, you know, you've mentioned and other people have mentioned that you have the goal of becoming like the Albion of Chinese swords, studying originals, making sure that you follow the original manufacturing processes and make them as close to the originals as possible. And we really appreciate that in the martial arts community. I hope you all found this video helpful, and thank you very much for watching.